I truly believe that we are at the cusp of something extraordinary in Africa. But it is our duty, our historical responsibility to seize this opportunity. Without us doing so, we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of our forefathers, of our forebears, and to be judged very harshly by history. In a recent report, the McKinsey Global Institute states, and I quote, "Global executives and investors cannot afford to ignore the continent's immense potential. A strategy for Africa must be part of their long-term planning." In a nutshell, Africa is the fastest growing continent on earth at the moment. Trade in most African countries still mostly involves the importation of finished goods and exporting of commodities. There is no manufacturing base to speak of. Inter-Africa trade, which is trade amongst African countries, is currently at 12%, compared to 79% for Europe and 87% for Asia, total percentage of total trade. Africa's problem is not so much a lack of cash, but rather our ability to trap cash on the continent and invest within our borders. Some of you may be familiar with a famous study carried out in the 1990s on the economic developmental disparities between Ghana and South Korea. Although in 1957 Ghana and South Korea had an almost equal per capita income of $490 and $491 respectively, by 1990, Ghana's per capita income had fallen to $400, while South Korea's had increased to over $2,000 per capita income. The difference between what happened in South Korea and what happened in Ghana over the last 50 years is that South Korea industrialized and started producing goods. Ghana did not. Africa needs to industrialize to deal with its developmental problems. Infrastructure development projects must be in response to industrialization initiatives. Otherwise, we will be left with vanity projects. It is through industrialization that Africa can build a sustainable middle class and create the required number of jobs. According to the World Bank, Africa's infrastructural deficit currently sits at $93 billion per annum. Earlier we referred to the absence of inter-Africa trade. One way to tackle this problem is to ensure that we beneficiate to enable us to trade with our neighbors. As some of you may be aware, Transnet recently announced our market demand strategy. The market demand strategy and its 300 billion capital investment program is part of government's growth strategy through investment in infrastructure and a key component of enabling the aims and aspirations of the new growth path. The MDS is expected to significantly expand South Africa's rail and port capacity, providing the ability to greatly increase the transportation of goods. In particular, industrial commodities such as iron ore, coal, and manganese that are in high demand. Most importantly, we expect to create approximately 220,000 new job opportunities in the next 7 years, providing job opportunities to 588,000 South Africans at the height of the market demand strategy. The MDS will enable growth in key commodities and will position South Africa globally as a key thermal coal exporter, an increasingly important fourth largest supplier of iron ore to China, the leading manganese exporter globally, the leading logistics hub for sub-Saharan Africa, and a globally recognized benchmark for container and heavy haul operations. Our MDS strategy will also have a significant bearing on how we conduct our business on the rest of the continent. There are a number of factors that make the continent an exciting bet for the future. These include a rapidly growing middle class, good returns on investment, expanding populations, and rapid urbanization. Combined, these factors have spurred and will continue to stimulate a variety of sectors to service a rapidly growing consumer base. Our Africa strategy will focus on key programs of action. These will include optimizing the global position of South Africa from a transport perspective in the region, market Transnet schools of excellence to position ourselves as leading trainer in ports, rail, and pipeline logistics, develop our port business as leader in port operations and key advisor in the continent, create a manufacturing base for the supply of rail engineering products and the offering of maintenance solutions to port and rail equipment, position our pipeline business to be an advisor and leading trainer on pipeline matters, and to sell Transnet's project management experience and expertise to African infrastructure developers. To illustrate some of our contradictions, 92% of marine trading for African students from the rest of Africa is done in Europe. There is no reason whatsoever why these students cannot be trained in South Africa. We have the facilities and the resources to do so. To date, Transnet has supplied locomotives, wagons, coaches, and technical advice to several countries including Tanzania, Mozambique, Angola, Benin, and the DRC. Transnet is now starting to make a significant footprint in the continent, which will eventually lead to regional integration and lower transport costs. Besides products and services, we have begun to engage in various forums intended to shape and define the African agenda. These include the African Union's Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, PIDA, and the North-South Corridor, which is championed by President Jacob Zuma. We have supported and will continue to support these initiatives through training, technical advice, and supply of rail equipment and engineering services, coupled with port technical advisory services. Transnet's market demand strategy is in line with the thinking of African visionaries like Pixley Kaisaka. Allow me to end with his final inspiring words. And I quote, "The brighter day is rising upon Africa. Already, I seem to see her chains dissolved, her desert plains red with harvest, her Abyssinia and her Zululand the seats of science and religion, reflecting the glory of the rising sun from the spires of their churches and universities. Her Congo and her Gambia whitened with commerce, her crowded cities sending forth the hum of business." Thank you.